Is an atheist closer to truth than a person who believes in God?
So I'm a non-theist, which means I think the shared set of presuppositions between the theist and the atheist are actually what needs to be rejected.
Can you explain that further?
Yes, I can. And I want to point out, by the way, that there are lots of non-theistic religious traditions. So I'm not coming up with a sort of airy-fairy category.
Yeah, and what's the difference in non-theism, agnosticism, and atheism?
So non-theists think that the theist and the atheist share a bunch of presuppositions. For example, it's that sacredness is to be understood in terms of a personal being that is in some sense the supreme being, and that the right relationship to that being is to have a correct set of beliefs. I reject all of those claims.
So both the theist and the atheist
In their modern version, yes.
In which do you reject it in the sense that you don't know, or do you reject it in the sense that you believe that each one of those presuppositions is likely to be not true?
The latter. Both on reflection, argument, and personal experimentation and experience, I've come to the conclusion that those shared propositions are probably not true.
Which one is the most troublesome to you? The personal being, the kind of accumulation of everything into one being that ultimately created stuff?
So for me, there's two, and they're interlocked together. I'm not trying to dodge your question.
Yeah.
It's that the idea that the ground of being is some kind of being, I think, is a fundamental mistake.
It's void of being?
No. Like,
the ground of being is some kind of being.
No.
Turtles all the way down.
The ground of being is not itself any kind of being. Being is not a being. It is the ability for things to be, which is not the same thing as a being.
Are humans beings?
We are beings. This glass is a being. This table is a being. But when I ask you, how are they all in being? You don't say by being a glass or by being a table or by being a human. You want to say, no, there's something underneath it all. And then you realize it can't be anything. This is why many mystical traditions converge on the idea that the ground of being is no thingness, which is, which you normally pronounce as nothingness. But if you put the hyphen back in, you get the original intent, no thingness. And that is bound up with, okay, what I need to do in order to be in relationship with, so it's a misconstruing of ultimate reality as a supreme being, which is a category mistake to my mind. And then my relationship to it, that sacredness is a function of belief. And I have been presenting you an argument through most of our discussion that meaning is at a deeper level than beliefs and propositions. And so that is a misunderstanding of sacredness, because I take sacredness to be that which is most meaningful and it connected to what is most real.
And theists think of what? Of sacredness as what?
They think of sacredness as a property of a particular being, God, and that the way that is meaningful to them is by asserting a set of propositions or beliefs. Now, I want to point out that this is what I would now call modern or common theism. You go back into the classical periods of Christianity, you get a view that's really radically different from how most people understand theism today.
Okay, so let me, this is an interesting question that I usually think about in the form of mathematics, but so in that case, if meaning is sacred in your non-theist view, is meaning created or is it discovered?
There's a Latin word that doesn't separate them called inventio. And I would say that, and before you say, oh, well, give me a chance, because you participate in it. You've experienced an insight, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Did you make it happen?
The insight,
Did you make it happen, or did you do like? Can you do that? I need an insight. This is what I do to make an insight.
Oh, I see. Yeah, in some sense, it came from elsewhere.
Right, but you didn't just passively receive it either. You're engaged and involved in it. That's why you get, right? So that's what I mean by you participate in it. You participate in meaning.
So you do think that it's both?
Yes.
You do think it's both. I mean, that's not a trivial thing to understand. Because a lot of time when you think about a search for meaning, you think it's like you're going through a big house and you open each door and look if it's there and so on, as if there is going to be a glowing orb that you discover.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm somebody that, based on the chemistry of my brain, have been extremely fortunate to be able to discover beauty in everything. In the most mundane and boring of things. I am, as David Foster Wallace said, unborable. I could just sit in a room, just like playing with a tennis ball or something and be excited. Basically like a dog, I think, endlessly. So to me, meaning is created, like, because I could create meaning out of everything. But of course, it doesn't require a partner. It does require dance partners, whatever. It does require the tennis ball. But honestly, that's what, a lot of people that I don't necessarily, and we'll talk about it, I don't practice meditation, but people who meditate very seriously, like, the entire days for months kind of thing, they talk about being able to discover meaning in just the wind or something. Like they just the breath and everything, just subtle sensory experiences, give you deep fulfillment.